Okay, everybody, let's get started with our next mini lecture. Picking up where we left off, I was talking about how we can define weather and climate as complete separate things, and also how they are intertwined with each other. And on that same note, the climate system is an interaction between all of Earth's systems. Okay, so that includes the atmosphere, which is a lot of what we'll talk about, clouds, uh, the greenhouse gases, all of that's going to be combined into our atmosphere, but also interact with all these other ones. So the cryosphere is going to be all the ice around the globe. Biosphere is all of the Earth. I'm sorry, all of the biological life on Earth, which includes uh, flora, fauna, and humans. The geosphere, which is going to be more of the rock, um, and geological study stuff, and then hydrosphere, which is all of the water, freshwater and saltwater on Earth. Um, Although these are five different spheres, we also know that all of these interact with each other. Um, and here's four of them. Some I think kind of left off on this next graphic is the biosphere, but I'm going to read some of these out just because I was not able to fit all of hardly any of them in the alt text. So, top left we have atmosphere, and before I do this, I'm going to say that all of these in this image in particular, we're talking about all of the ways in which the atmosphere, these spheres, interact with each other. Okay, so we have the atmosphere, we have the ocean, and then the land and cryosphere. And the atmosphere interacts with the ocean through the global water cycle and, extreme weather, for example, hurricanes. The ocean and the cryosphere interact with each other through sea ice and uh, we have uh, the cryosphere and the land interacts through things like permafrost. Um, but yeah, so starting over here on the left, the atmosphere under the atmosphere we have global water cycle, extreme weather, cloud and convection, aerosols, atmospheric chemistry, radiative transfer, turbulence, and surface exchanges, and we have human interactions with land, water, and energy, plant processes, vegetation dynamics, terrestrial biogeochemistry, and soil hydrology. So I went from atmosphere to land there. And now I'll go from ocean to cryosphere, modes of variability, coastal processes and waves, ocean currents and eddies, salinity and biogeochemistry, mixed layer processes, deep ocean circulation, sea ice, melt channels and ice shelves, ice sheets and glaciers, snowpack, lake and river ice, and then permafrost. So, overall, this is, you don't have to memorize all these processes. The point of it is for you to see that there's a lot of interaction in between all of these Earth systems that make up and impact our climate system. Another graphic here is going to be more of a combination of all of these things in the climate system. We always start in the climate system with changes in solar energy. I think I had, or maybe I will say this in one of your mini lectures, but all of um, all of life on Earth is really here because of the sun, right? All of the energy in our atmosphere is here because of the sun, and how our planet actually keeps that warmth in is how life grows, right? So if we're talking about the climate system, you're always going to start with the sun. So in this depiction right here, you have changes in solar energy, and then you have interactions with the atmosphere. So that's going to be, like greenhouse gases absorbing. You're going to have some cloud cover reflecting, and then some of it reaching the land. Um, some of that solar energy reaching the land, where it's absorbed by the surface or absorbed by the oceans, reflected off sea ice, and then you also have changes in the hydrological cycle based upon uh, the H2O, water vapor in the atmosphere, and that can come down and interact with the land through rain, and then that all flows out. Some of it becomes ice, some of it becomes snow, some of it flows out back to the ocean, and then some of the ocean also evaporates. That's the water cycle right there, right? So this whole thing is all very interactive with each other. Okay. And like I said, I don't need you to memorize all of these little details as much as I right now. We'll talk about some of these more in detail later, but I just want you to get an idea of how all of this stuff starts to interact with each other. And then last, before I move on, and this might seem kind of like a weird place for climate system, or we're going to, a weird place for the layers of the atmosphere to be placed with the climate system. But essentially, like I said, we're talking about the sun being one of the most important parts. Sun has to go through our atmosphere. And so we have 4 major layers to our atmosphere. There are technically 5, but the only one that where we live, where all weather takes place, is the troposphere. It's the lowest and also the smallest layer of our atmosphere. And on this image on the left, you can see there's a depiction of a cloud in that lowest layer. And the boundary between the troposphere and the next layer is the tropopause. And as you go up from there, you have the stratosphere, stratopause, mesosphere, mesopause, and then thermosphere. Also in that image is an orangish line that represents temperature. And you have temperature plotted there on the bottom of the depiction, right? And so as we go up in our atmosphere, in the troposphere, we are decreasing with temperature. And then as you can see, once we reach the stratosphere, we actually start to warm as we go up in the atmosphere, right? That's a little counterintuitive. And then when you go through the mesosphere, we start to cool again. And then once we get up to the thermosphere, we warm again. So we have this like oscillation of cooling and warming as we go up in the atmosphere, mostly because of different gases and processes in place there. One of those is the ozone layer, which is in the stratosphere. A lot of people are familiar with that, and we will talk about that more later. But what you need to know from this point of view is that the troposphere is where all of the climate system takes place. And we have a lot more atmosphere above us. And it's kind of incredible to think about all that happens in just that lowest layer. Okay, so we're going to stop there for now, and I'll see you in the next lecture.